Okay, we're going to look at arc length and central angles. So when we're talking about arc length, we need to make sure that we are in radian measure. Okay, so here for arc length, there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind. First, we know that when we start at the center of a circle and we draw a straight line out to the outer edge, this is called your radius. We label it with an R. The other thing that we know is that to go from your x-axis up to wherever that radius line is, we call that your theta, which is usually your degree. Now the last thing that we have, or that we know, is that when we're talking about arc length, we are talking about the length of this outer part of the circle. So that goes from where your radius comes out at all the way down to your origin part, or down to your axis, and we label this with an S. This would be your actual arc length, or the distance that was traveled. Now with this, notice we only have 3 variables, which means we have a very easy formula that we can use in order to calculate. And our formula is simple as theta is equal to S divided by R. So in other words, what we're talking about is we're talking about your rotation is going to be the ratio of distance to your radius. Okay. So for example, we need to compute this following table. So notice I have distance, radius, and angle. And if you look at this first row, I have angle, I have distance, but my radius is missing. So here, if we consider this to be, say, your first problem, then in order to solve, the first thing that we need to do is we need to convert to radians. So in order to convert our angle to radians, we have to take that 45 degrees and we have to multiply it by pi over 180 degrees. That'll get rid of your degrees and leave behind your radians. So in this case, what you're going to have is you're going to have 45 pi over 180, which we need to simplify. And so here 45 goes into 180 4 times, so this actually becomes pi over 4. And so then the very next thing that we have to do is we have to look at what we have. So we need to remember that our formula here is theta equals S over R. And in this case, the part that's missing is the R. So what I would do is we would take this formula and we would solve for the missing piece. So in this case, we would multiply both sides by R. So we would say that R is going to be, and here we would have S divided by your theta. And then all we have to do is plug in the information we have. So first and foremost, we have that my S is 200 centimeters, and my theta was pi over 4. So in this case, we're going to end up getting a result, and if you paid attention, you would see that we were told to round to the nearest hundredth. So in this case, we are going to end up getting 254.65 centimeters. And so that's what would go in your box. So we would say that this was a radius of 254.65 centimeters. Now the next one that we have is this bottom line, so we can call this problem number 2. And in this case, notice my arc length is missing, but I have a radius and an angle, and my angle here is already in radians. So the only thing that we have to do here is we have to go ahead and start with our formula. Now in this case, it's my s that is missing, so we're going to rearrange our formula by multiplying both sides by r to get that s by itself, so theta r. And then all we have to do is input what we know. So in this case, what we know is that my theta is going to be 5 pi over 12, and my r is going to be 4.2 inches. We're going to multiply those together, which is going to give us our result, and so here you're going to end up with 5.50 inches. And that is what would go in the box here, so this would be 5.50 inches. Now notice on both of these, my distance and radius have the same unit measure, and same with the bottom, my distance and radius have the same unit measure. So that's all you need to know about arc length and central angles. It's just simply remember when we're talking about your arc length, your angle is the measure that goes from your x-axis up to your radius line. Your radius is going to be that measure that goes from the center of your circle out to the outer edge. And your distance traveled is going to be this piece of the circumference here that starts from your axis line and goes up to where your radius is. That is your distance line. Okay? So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. Remember to be creative, and I'll see you next time.